There we go. Hello and welcome to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I am Reverend Bill Marchiony, and the interesting background that I have set up there. I wonder what that means. Ah, that looks better. So hey, good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning, depending on where you're zooming in from. This is the Practical Prayer Podcast pre-show on New Thought Media Network. Going to record an episode of the Practical Prayer Podcast in just a couple of minutes. And as you may be noticing, that Carol is not here. Carol got one of those opportunities to sandwich in a doctor's appointment before the end of the year because the other one's not going to be available for weeks and weeks. So she's trying to make that happen. And of course, it's just before lunchtime, right before the holidays. So there's a backlog over there. So she apparently is not going to make it here today, which is, on the one hand, very sad. Because there are lots of things to talk with Carol about. It was also an opportunity to talk about the things that y'all want to talk about. And I have news. So it turns out, and I think you know what, I'm going to wait until we get into the episode to explain what the news is. But I will say that when we do this, the recordings on New Thought Media Network, there is the opportunity for you to interact in real time. You can put a comment into your social media stream there, and we'll be able to respond to it in real time. If you're watching on the recording, which apparently a lot of people like to do, you can go over to the website, bethelight.com, with the hyphens in it, b-the-light.com, and there's a section on the Practical Prayer Podcast, and you can put a comment in there as well. And that could be a question or a prayer request or something else. There's a lot of other information and material and insight and suggestions and so forth on the Be the Light website, on other stuff that's going on and the ways that we can interact. And so if you have a question or a comment, I would love to hear it. And I am delighted to have you here with us today. And this is Bill going solo for the second time in a few weeks for various reasons. And got some news to share with you. So I'm going to go ahead and get the podcast episode started.
A practical prayer is a prayer that works.
These discussions between Reverend Bill Marchiony and Carol Lawrence dive into the details of how it works and how to work it.
Reverend Bill is a New Thought minister and the author of Practical Prayer for Real Results.
Your new life begins with a new thought.
Carol Lawrence is on a spiritual quest, finding the New Thought teaching after decades on the pulpit in 3 different traditional denominations.
I've got some questions.
Together, they're exploring the philosophy and activities that come together from many of the world's religions to create the practical spirituality that is New Thought.
Welcome to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Reverend Dr. Bill Marchiony, here flying solo. Carol, my usual co-host, sidekick, accomplice, and question asker, is unavailable today. She got hijacked by the medical industrial complex, and that's not nearly as bad as it seems. She's just stuck in a doctor's office waiting for stuff to happen at recording time. So I will fly solo today. And it gives me the opportunity to share some important news and also the title of this episode, which is Penultimate. And a lot of people, you say penultimate, and they think they know what it means. Some people actually know what it means. Some people realize that they don't know what it means. But penultimate is one of those great words because onomatopoeically, it sounds like something different than what it is. The penultimate in some ways sounds like it's going to be just about the best. And in fact, penultimate means second to last. And the reason that this episode is called Second to Last, or Penultimate, this is episode number 227 of the Practical Prayer Podcast. When we first started doing this podcast, I had tried a couple of times with pilots with various other people who were deep into the New Thought teaching and very similar way of thinking and spiritual alignment with me. And I could not imagine that we would be able to do more than a dozen episodes before we ran out of content. And then along came Carol, and she has the background that she does in traditional religion, and So she had a lot of good questions. She had, because she wasn't just doing the New Thought teaching and practical prayer, she was doing compare and contrast that with the teaching that she had grown up with, and in fact that she'd led for 3 different denominations over the course of 30, 35 years. So we have actually had a remarkably long run, and we decided a week or so ago that this being the end of season number 19 and also being the end of 2025 is a good time to bring this to a close. And it's not because it's not a good podcast. It's because Carol has grown so much and deepened into the New Thought teaching so much. She's not in the place where she was when we started the podcast. And I have gotten a lot of insight from what she's had to say. And I'm not in the same place that I was when we started the podcast. And this is, we're talking about 4.5 years ago. So like I say, it has been a wonderful run. The great thing about podcast land is that all of the episodes remain live. So next week will be the last episode of the Practical Prayer Podcast before we go into the archives and the history land. And so I was looking forward to talking to Carol and just reflecting on the changes that have happened for her and the changes that have happened for me since we started doing the podcast. And since she's not here, I get to speak for her. And because I can be presumptuous or arrogant, I can speak for her whether I'm right or not. That's the magic of having her not here, is I can say stuff and it'll just seem so true because I have that believable sort of voice. When we first met, Carol described herself to be a card-carrying control freak. And I know enough about metaphysics and the New Thought teachings and the ability to create our experience according to our words and our intentions, that I knew that she'd eventually have to give that up. And the reason is not that it'd be pried from her hands, it's just because she would realize that that doesn't work for her anymore. Because if we think that we are in control, we are putting a huge amount of limitation on the infinite creative power that creates everything. And that's the whole premise behind practical prayer. There is one divine power and presence, one love, one essence that is sharing itself as every part of its creation. And that includes the farthest galaxies in the sky, and it includes the tiniest particle that we can imagine. It includes each of us, all the experiences that we have, all of the events that are unfolding. It is all that one divine presence revealed in its own way. That's really big. Or as Carol would say, that's a lot. And the thought that we're going to be somehow in control of that a lot of that is going to somehow do what we say, the way that we say it, like we know best. When you realize that it's kind of preposterous. And the teaching is about not taking control, but about setting invitations, about partnering with that infinite creative power, the one that creates everything, to create something new in our lives. And we can create exactly the experience or the activity or the circumstances that we're looking for. And sometimes it works immediately and it can encourage us. And other times it doesn't seem to be working at all. And that's because there's something bigger going on, because there's a difference between what we say we want and what we believe we deserve. There's a difference between the things going the way we say they should be going, and them unfolding in a way that brings us to the experience that we'd prefer to be having. So sometimes there's a lot of hesitation in that process. And what we learn along the way is to let go of the control. Go from tight-fisted grip to open hands. And when we do that, we are no longer trying to control how that infinite creative power is going to be creating something for us. And we're no longer trying to be in charge of when, or scheduling it, or putting it on a to-do list. What we're doing instead is understanding the tone, the texture, the flavor, the essence of what it is that we want to be creating in our lives, and then turning it over to that infinite creative power. By the way, it has created all of the life that exists everywhere, and every planet, every galaxy, and everything that exists everywhere. So it can probably do a pretty good job of creating whatever it is that we're desiring next. We let go, we turn it over to that creative power, and then we let that one divine presence bring that new experience into our lives in a way that lets us feel the way that we were wanting to feel once we had the thing that we thought we wanted to have. We may have that thing. We may have it show up in our lives exactly the way we thought it was going to show up in our lives, and it might be a complete surprise. I have so very many stories of people who were praying for one thing and something different showed up and it turned out to be exactly what they wanted but never thought to ask for it. There are lots of stories like that. So one of the huge things that Carol got to learn, and it took less than a half a year from the time we started doing the podcast and probably a year and a half from the time that we first met, until she finally said, oh, okay, I'm turning it in. I no longer am a card-carrying control freak. And I sent her, as a holiday gift, I sent her a graphic image of a control freak card that says canceled. And because she made that transformation. So she still has all those characteristics in her personality. She still has all the abilities to jump in and make things happen. What's changed is that consciousness. The consciousness about needing to do it that way and that there is something bigger going on at hand. So that has been transformational. The big thing that's happened for me is I have come to an understanding of why the New Thought teaching is so confounding to so many people. It's amazing to a bunch of people that in traditional religion, there's a belief in a God out there. So it's me here and God out there. And what happens when we put that sense of separation in place is, first of all, we give up the authority that we have to create the experience we want to have, because then instead of understanding that once we get clarity in our belief that the answer is going to be yes and that creative power is going to be creating that goodness for us, when we put the power outside of ourselves, then the answer from the infinite can be yes or no or not now. And it puts all of the decision making someplace outside of us, which means that we may be able to justify our disbelief or our doubt by saying that God doesn't want me to have it. And it also, and this is the part that I think is really important for a lot of people, allows blame. It's God's fault that I don't have this. God doesn't want me to have it. And it puts the blame on Santa God up in the sky. And on the one hand, it's easy because you don't have to take accountability for your own life, or they don't. Let's not use you. Let's say they, the people who believe that, don't have to take accountability for their own lives because they can foist the accountability off on the infinite. And I'll say one more thing before we take a break. This is one of those things that really alarms the people who hear it for the first time. And that is that God loves you so much. God loves you so much that God doesn't care what you do or what happens to you. Now that seems pretty harsh and unloving. We'll explain that in a little bit of detail when we get back. And Lynn, thank you for your insightful words. And we'll be back in just a minute, right after this. Are you ready to get results? Now, that's not a rhetorical question. Are you ready to get results? RUR2GR. That's actually the abbreviation for the steps in a practical prayer: recognition, unification, realization, gratitude, and release, with a couple of extra steps in there in case some doubt creeps in along the way. RUR2GR. This class is about the prayer technique that's common to all of the spiritual practices and religions in the most effective prayers that they have. And by effective, I mean that the prayer works. It actually creates a change in the experience of the person doing the prayer. It gets a result. We're going to begin with theory, and then we're going to take it into practice. By the end of the class, you will have your very own practical prayer that will help create transformation in your life. Welcome back to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Reverend Dr. Bill Marchiony, solo today on the penultimate episode of the Practical Prayer Podcast. Carol is inexplicably detained by the medical professions, and she'll return next week for what will be the last episode of the Practical Prayer Podcast, the ultimate episode, or the finale, however you want to look at it. And when we count seasons 12 at a time, that's actually going to be the last episode of season number 19. And like I mentioned, I didn't think that we had more than one season in us when we started. So pretty spectacular when it comes to that. So I made the audacious statement before the break that God loves you so much that God will doesn't care what happens to you or what you do. And God loves you so much that God's not going to take charge. If you want to do something and it's going to be something that's painful or awkward or destructive, then you can. The nature of unconditional love. God loves you unconditionally. Let me restate that, underline it, and emphasize it. God loves you unconditionally. And unconditionally means without conditions. So if you do things that are wonderful and uplifting and in alignment with everything that your community thinks is good and everything that the laws of the land say are good, everything that the 10 Commandments say that you ought to do, and all the other things that are rule-based, then God loves you. And if you're a complete screw-up and you keep on violating the rules and keep getting yourself into trouble and keep on undermining yourself and keep on doing things that are bringing disease and discomfort and disarray and discord into your life, then God still loves you. What changes is the experience of life that you're having rather than the love that God has for you. God loves you so much that God will let you do whatever it is that you want to do. You and each of us have the authority to do whatever it is that we want with our lives. We are the authors of our experience. We get to choose our actions, choose our beliefs, our thoughts, our steps, our relationships. We get to choose all of the stuff that our life is about. We have freedom of choice. And we have full accountability for those choices. When I do something that turns out to be unhelpful or unhealthy or unproductive or otherwise, in hindsight, unwise, it's going to unfold the way it was going to unfold. You know, the story of the person pulling a pin out of the hand grenade, it's like something's going to blow up. You are free to pull the pin out of the hand grenade. You may want to have a plan for after that. The authority to pull, the accountability for standing there with a hand grenade's got no pin in it. So we have both authority and accountability in our lives, and it doesn't have anything to do with God. There's an infinite creative power that creates everything, and we are partnered with it. And if we want to create destruction, then the universe says yes, and destruction unfolds, and God loves us. And if we decide that we want to do something that is going to be wholesome and uplifting and positive and bringing good and joy and light and love to the world, then that infinite creative power partners with us to create that. The law says yes, and God loves us unconditionally. Well, that takes a lot of the power out of God and puts the accountability on us. And the question becomes, what are you creating? You are the architect of your experience. You get to decide this, not the specifics of what you want to have happen. You get to set an intention for how you want to feel, how you want your life experience to unfold once you have the things that you think that you're desiring. And we've talked over the course of the last 225 episodes about the sorts of approaches that we can use to align ourselves with the good that we're seeking. You know, somebody wants to have, an experience of health and vitality and comfort in their physical body. Okay. And some people are in a position where they just don't have it right now. And the question to ask is there anything that I can do, any steps that I can take, any alignment that I can make to bring myself into that experience of harmony? You know, there's the classic story of the person, you know, that's hitting themselves in the head with a hammer. Somebody says, why are you doing that? He says, it's because it feels so good when I stop. So in some cases, we're doing that to ourselves. In some cases, we learned to do it so long ago that we don't even remember why we're doing it. And we might not even have realized that it's not being a helpful process for us. But we're free to change. We're free to choose. And Charles Fillmore, one of the founders of the Unity School of New Thought, believed in immortality. He believed in everlasting human life. And then he died. And so sometimes, you know, there's some stuff that's hardwired into the program. There are big picture topics that we don't have particularly any control over, and sometimes not even a huge awareness of. So some people believe in the afterlife, that something is coming along after this. And some people believe in past lives, that we've all been here multiple times taking circuits through life here on Earth, and that we are going through it for whatever the purpose is. Some people think it's so that we can learn our lessons so that we can reach enlightenment and then we can stop coming back to planet Earth. That's kind of a bummer because that makes Earth be sort of punitive. Like you have to keep repeating it, like the fourth grade, until you get done with it and then you get to move on to something better. The other possibility, and this is one that I like, is that the human life on Earth is like an amusement park ride. And the undifferentiated spirit can make the choice, I want to go have the human ride on Earth, and then we're born into something. And we get to experience that sense of separation. Because if there's only one divine power and presence, one mind, one love, then that one is aware of everything. And the only way to not be aware of the connection with everything is to have an experience of being disconnected, an experience of being separate, which is, I believe, what we're doing here on Earth. And the idea of having that experience of separation is that we can learn things. Because the infinite is not learning anything. The infinite already knows everything. The infinite is not being surprised. The infinite cannot lock eyes with somebody else across the room and suddenly find itself in love. Because it's already everything. It's already every part of that equation. It's the one that's doing the seeing. It's the one that's being seen. It's the room. It's all of it. So in order for that experience to unfold in a way where there can be joy or surprise or delight or, as I say, God's heard every joke. But as a human individual, I can be surprised and I can have a good laugh and I can feel how uplifting that is. So my notion is that the reason that we are here is to have the experience of being individual, to live with the illusion of separation, and then see what we can bring into the experience that we're having. So everything here in life on planet Earth, life in the manifest universe, is very important because it's the life that we have. It's the experience that we've got. This is our moment now. This is episode number 227. And there won't be another one. So we have the opportunity to engage with that and do the best that we can, or the best that we choose with that opportunity. We don't have to. We can go take a nap. And that's okay too. But it's about choosing the experience we want to have and then being accountable for what we've chosen. And that is individual life on Earth. So as long as we are involved in this endeavor, it's really none of our business what came before this or what's coming after this. Our opportunity is to be present, to be here now, and given the experience and the opportunity that we have, what is it that we want to be creating? And that's true for everybody. That's true for me. That's true for everybody who understands this new thought teaching, that we're creating our lives according to our beliefs. And it also includes everybody who doesn't understand that we are creating our lives according to our beliefs, that we are each partnered with that infinite creative power. If we are doing this in ignorance, the law still works. The law is always working. It is always responding, whether we know it's responding or not. And that's good news and bad news. Because the question becomes, what's the experience of life that you'd like to be having? If you were choosing how you were going to feel once this next portion of your life unfolds, what would you choose? Are you able to let go of the thought that you don't deserve it, that it's not yours? Are you able to open to that possibility that goes beyond anything that you might have considered before? Can you acknowledge it? Can you believe it? Can you set your intention for it and then allow yourself to get out of the way and allow that infinite creative power to create it? Well, that's what practical prayer is all about. So we're going to take another break and listen to something about the Practical Prayer book, which you can still get on Amazon. And it's got 40 sample prayers. 39 that are practical prayers and one which was the model for the practical prayers. If you don't remember what that is, then go ahead and get yourself a copy of the book or the audio book or the Kindle book. And we're going to close in a minute with one of the prayers from the book.
Learn to put practical prayer to work in your life. The steps are simple to learn and let you begin to get real results to create the life of your dreams immediately. Reverend Bill Marchiony's widely acclaimed book, Practical Prayer for Real Results, gives you a clear summary of the new thought principles behind practical prayer and the series of easy-to-understand steps found in the most effective prayers from religions and spiritual practices all over the world and throughout history. Practical prayer is not a replacement for your religion or practice. It's a technique to make the work you do in consciousness even more effective. The book includes 40 prayers on various topics that you can adapt as needed and use as your own. Practical Prayer for Real Results is available in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook on Amazon or at b-the-light.com. That's be-the-light.com.
Welcome back to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Reverend Dr. Bill Marchiony, flying solo today. Carol is unavailable right now. And we've been talking about penultimate because this is the second to last episode of the Practical Prayer Podcast. Next week will be the final episode, although, as I mentioned, the rest of them will continue to be available probably forever in podcast land. And I wanted to close today with one of the prayers from the book. This is a prayer of spirit. It's from page 47. And this is the generic prayer. This is possibly the first practical prayer or spiritual mind treatment that I ever heard. And I didn't understand necessarily what it was when I heard it, but it turns out that it is one of the most powerful. And this is also the one that you can do in any circumstance. There are times when somebody says, "Oh, my cousin's in the hospital, pray for her." And I don't know what the circumstances are. And we don't know what the person who's in the hospital is wanting. We don't know what has motivated the person who, has reached out to us to say something. So we don't know exactly what it is that we should pray for. Should it be for everything to be easy and simple? Should it be that the surgery finally happens and everything resolves perfectly? Or could it be that the love is unfolding in the family as they lovingly release this cousin? We don't know. But we can still pray. The title of the prayer is Highest and Best with Love and Ease. There's only love. Everything, everyone, everywhere is an idea born in the creative mind of God, now taking form in space and time. This sharing of creative energy is an act of pure love. So I know there is only love. I am that infinite love, taking form in a way that is uniquely me. Every person, every creature, and all activity is this infinite love taking definite form. There is only love. I now know and affirm that love is unfolding, the highest and best with love and ease for each one listening to this prayer and all the intentions and desires that they have. It is now unfolding as the highest and best experience with love and ease for everyone. There is no power or force that stands in opposition to this good. Any fear, doubt, or idea of hesitation dissipates immediately and permanently into the nothingness from which it came. There is only love. It's now appearing in my life as the highest and best with love and ease for me and for everyone involved. I'm grateful for it, thankful for the good that is now at hand. I'm in gratitude for the law that allows me to create this wonderful new experience and for the joyous way that it honors and elevates everyone involved. I release this word into the truth, into the infinite mind of God, knowing that this good is already underway. And so it is.
The Practical Prayer Podcast with Reverend Bill Marchiony and Carol Lawrence is a production of BeTheLight.com,
be-the-light.com,
where you can find more information about practical prayer for real results.
Our theme is by Music of Wisdom. You can learn about the spiritual community of New Thought Philadelphia with daily guided meditations,
Weekly celebrations of spirit,
and Reverend Bill's classes in practical spirituality
at newthoughtphilly.org.
So it turns out that even though Carol is stuck in a doctor's waiting room, she does have YouTube on her phone and is able to join us remotely. Carol, it's wonderful to have you here on the other side of the conversation this time. I hope I didn't say anything that embarrassed you, or if I did, I hope it gives us a great conversation in the episode next week. Thank you to Lynn. Thank you to everybody else who is joining us online. Thank you to everybody who is listening on New Thought Media Network on the recordings. It has been wonderful so far. Looking forward to another week. Looking forward to the holiday season. And I am delighted that you have been here. Once again, if you have a question or comment, you are free to head over to the website, BeTheLight.com, be-the-light.com. We'll be happy to respond to that, or we'll include your questions, comments, or kudos in our next episode of the Practical Prayer Podcast. Have a spectacular holiday. Carol's sending hearts right back to you. Let's see if my computer will do this. Oh, there we go. I love when that happens. Have a spectacular holiday, and I will see you right before the new year.